So if you don't know what Worthpoint is, it's a website that archives eBay sales data past the 90 days that eBay itself archives that data. From what I understand, it's just a really good way to research pricing on mainly collectible items, things that don't pop up all the time on eBay, things that if you go and do a sold listings search, it may not show up because maybe it only sells once or twice a year. I don't really use Worthpoint. I think it costs around $23.99 a month, and I just don't sell enough stuff that I have trouble finding a value for. But I noticed that they did have a 7-day free trial, so I went ahead and signed up for the free trial because I thought it'd be interesting to maybe go back and try to find some of my biggest flips ever. And kind of what I found was some of the more common stuff. Just off the top of my head, a few years ago I sold an engine scanner for well over $1,000, and I couldn't really find that on there. I've sold iPads and iPods and laptops and things like that for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but either the list is way too big and I can't search through all the stuff, or it doesn't show up at all. So I'm not really sure exactly what all Worthpoint archives, but it seems to me that they definitely cater more towards the collectible items. So I did actually go on here and find 3 things that I've sold in the past, I guess, 10 years that were huge flips that sold for well over $5,000 between the 3 items. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of look at those and talk about where I got them and how much I paid for them and everything. Interestingly enough, none of these items were bought at thrift stores, so it kind of goes to show you that you may have to expand your searching area in order to find a lot of those home runs. And I would definitely consider all 3 of these items home runs. As always, make sure you like the video, share with your friends, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, it is definitely appreciated. Alright, so this is item number 1. This I actually bought back in 2017. It says I sold it on July 20th, 2017. I actually bought it at a local auction. And I remember the auction, the cell phone reception was horrible. So everything I bought that day had 0 research done. And it was definitely a great haul. Besides this car, I bought a lot of Super Nintendo games that sold for a lot of money. Some old Japanese 10 cars. But this item right here was the best item of the night. It's a vintage Marx Batmobile. And from what I could tell when I got it home, it was extremely rare. It took a lot of deep diving to finally find an old eBay listing through Google image search that led back to some eBay listing from years ago that sold for around $2,000. I think I paid $7 for the car. Seeing that $2,000, I knew that I probably had a home run. However, mine was in pretty horrible condition. I think it was missing a wheel. A lot of the paint was rusted and chipping off. But when something's that rare and that collectible, then, I mean, obviously condition matters, but just the fact that it exists, you're probably going to get a premium for it. I think I actually listed it for around $1,500 and instantly started getting watchers. I think I ended up with a couple hundred watchers, and finally someone offered me $850 after about a month or a month and a half on eBay. And so by that point, turning $7 into $850 sounded like a no-brainer. So I did take it, and it was a great flip, and it was cool to be able to see it on here after almost 2.5 years. Now, as a little bonus, this next one isn't necessarily one of my best flips ever. However, it was from the same auction. I think I paid a similar price, between $5 and $7, and it was another Marx friction car from the 1960s. So another $7 into $165 on top of the Super Nintendo games, on top of the Japanese 10 cars. So if you're not going to local auctions, I would highly recommend them. The next one, this was an item I bought in a bulk lot, and it's a Michael Jordan rookie card, and I know nothing about sports cards except that most of them are worthless. This one, however, I sold it back in 2016. From the research that I found, it looked pretty legit. I know that these cards are highly counterfeited. So with this one, I did I think it was a 3-day auction, and I took as close-up pictures as I possibly could. I basically said that I have no idea if it's real or not. Check it out. Asked me for more pictures, more details about the card, and I'll do my best to answer. And the auction kind of took off. I think I started at 99 cents no reserve with free shipping, so I really wasn't expecting a lot. I thought someone might take a gamble on it for $50 or $60, but when it ended at $1,162.56, that was a home run. And I was actually nervous to sell it because I still didn't know if it was real or not. I mean, because it was just part of a box lot, and I usually don't like to sell stuff like that. I mean, of course, I would offer returns, and I made the choice that I would just kind of trust the buyer. I mean, I could have opened myself up to scams, but I probably had $1 into this card, so honestly, I I wasn't too worried about it. But when the seller received it, he immediately left great feedback, sent me a message telling me that the card looked great and that he had been looking for it for years. So that was definitely a good flip. $1 into over $1,000. That doesn't happen every day, so that's a lot of fun. Okay, and this last one I believe is my best flip ever. These speakers right here, and obviously this picture is horrible. I sold this back in 2011 and actually found these speakers in a pawn shop, not even the one I worked at, but I found these speakers on a shelf for $59, and I thought they looked kind of interesting. I didn't really need speakers, but 2011 was a little bit before it was common just to whip out your phone and start looking stuff up. So I kind of took a mental note of what the model numbers were, and when I got home I got on my computer and looked them up, and I was pretty blown away by the price they were selling for. So I mean, needless to say, I rushed right back in and grabbed them, and this was back in the day when auctions were the way to go. So immediately I put them up for a 99-cent no reserve auction, and they built pretty steadily, if I remember correctly. The price climbed to over $1,000 pretty quickly, but then it's kind of stayed there. And then back then I remember it was a lot of fun for like the last 10 minutes of an auction just to keep hitting refresh on your computer and see if it would get any higher, and it was amazing. I'm pretty sure within the last minute or so the price raised over $1,000. So they ended up selling for $3,060. I think they went to either Japan or Korea, something like that. So the buyer ended up paying international shipping. They got there safely, everything was good, and I got my money. So I cannot complain about that one. I mean, obviously these aren't the kinds of things that you're going to find every day, but these are definitely the kinds of things that light that fire, that kind of get you excited about reselling in general, that kind of keep you going out looking for more. It is fun to keep looking, and it's fun to be able to reflect on the times that it does happen. So I definitely appreciate you all watching. Like I said, I don't really use Worthpoint that often, but there is a 7-day trial, so feel free to sign up and give it a shot. If you sell lots of collectibles, it definitely couldn't hurt to have it around. But as I mentioned earlier, don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments of your best scores that you found, or any questions or comments that you may have, and I will definitely get back to you. So I will catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.